Hotel family, what's up, man? I just wanted to come to y'all real quick to just let you guys know about a video that I'm working on. Get y'all opinion on it. Now, we're gonna go in depth about this. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go in depth with this. I'm gonna do a PowerPoint presentation about it. I'm gonna show you guys all of the facts, and we're gonna deal with this train of thought. We're going to deal with this concept. We're going to deal with these statements made by one of the great ancestors, Booker T. Washington. Now, a lot of us, we already know who Booker T. Washington is. If you don't know who Booker T. Washington is, I suggest you go and do a little research on him. But he is the ancestor who was born in slavery, gained his freedom with the advent of the Civil War, and he went on to basically found what we know as the Tuskegee Institute. Okay, and he did a lot of great work for our people. But Booker T. Washington wasn't perfect. No one is. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Our parents aren't perfect. And so our ancestors, they aren't perfect as well. And so some of the things that they may have said and some of the things that they may have done, is within our right to talk about them, consider them, mull them over in our minds, and just think about the implications of them. One such statement that we're going to be looking at, I'm going to show you guys where he made this, but one such statement that we're going to be looking into is Booker T. Washington, and forgive me, I don't know the word for word quote right now, I don't have the book in front of me, but Booker T. Washington basically made the statement that because the African was enslaved and subjected to slavery by the European powers, that enslavement gave the African the ability to rise up and level up in with respects to civilization. Saying he was basically saying that it was our close proximity to the European that raised us up to a higher level of civilization here in America, and that the Negro American, the African American, the descendant of the African slaves here in America had achieved a higher level of civilization and were better off, were better off than their family members who remained in Africa and were never taken away as slaves. He even goes on to say that the African American, the Negro American, we would call Negroes at that time, that the Negro had achieved a higher level of civilization than the Indians, than the Native Americans, simply because there came a point when the African slave dominated the plantations. Yes, we know that Native Americans, Indians were enslaved. Yes, we know that there were some white people that were enslaved and indentured servants. The Irish was a large group. But, there came a time pretty quickly when only the Africans were the main people that were still subjected to slavery. And that had to do with several different reasons. When I do the in-depth video, we're going to talk about why Booker T. Washington says these reasons were. But he says that because the Negro was subjected to slavery in the manner and for the amount of time that we were able to reach a higher level of civilization than the Native American and the Indian as well, because they were not subjected to slavery like we were. And he believed that civilizations or societies of people reached greater levels of civilization when they encountered other societies who had already reached a higher level of civilization. And unfortunately, the vast majority of the time, that society that had reached a higher level of civilization subjected the lower level civilized societies to slavery and oppression. Right now, of course, a a society that has achieved a higher level of civilization. We're going to get into what that even actually means. Could, out the kindness of their own hearts, try to raise up the society that's at a lower level of civilization than them through humanitarian and holistic and morally guided reasons, right? Instead of subjecting them, but that just does not appear to be the human way. Now, but before you all, well, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? Do you think that the Negro American, the African American, has achieved a higher level of civilization than the Africans that are still on the continent of Africa, who were never enslaved? Right? Are we enjoying a higher level of civilization than the Native Americans, than the Indians? Did we raise up higher than them, first and foremost? Now, if you believe yes, is that because of our proximity to the European? Without looking at our proximity to the European being through slavery, just our proximity to the European, was that the difference? Was it our proximity to the European as opposed to the Africans' proximity to the European, or as opposed to the Native Americans' proximity to the European? Is that what made the difference, if there really is a difference? And does, in history, can we look at other examples? Because, we may have a personal bias if we're African Americans, right? We may have a personal bias as to what our ancestors went through. But are there other examples in history where a society that was, quote unquote, at a lower level of civilization was oppressed, enslaved, and subjugated to a society that had reached a higher level of civilization, then they themselves were able to rise up? Are there any other examples of that in history? Oddly enough, there's a man named, oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue. A British guy. Winston Churchill. Okay, Winston Churchill, a British guy, he made a similar claim in his book, The History of the English-Speaking Peoples. Right, now this book came out after Booker T. Washington's book, The Story of the Negroes. This guy, Winston Churchill, wrote a book called The History of the English-Speaking Peoples. And in that book, he proposed the exact same thing about the British. He was saying that since they were basically colonized by the Roman Empire, they were oppressed and subjected to the Roman Empire. They were conquered by the Roman Empire, and Roman ways, Roman customs, Roman trains of thought, Roman forms of civilization was imposed on the British Isles. They were able to achieve a higher level of civilization, basically saying that they were barbarians prior to them coming in contact with the Romans. And it was the subjugation of the Romans that gave them the ability to spring forward and put them on the trajectory to where, they're a world superpower today. So Booker T. Washington isn't the only individual that has made a claim like this. And there are other examples in history. But I don't want to make this video too long. So what I'm going to do, I just want to ask the question. Right now, I'm on neither side of the fence. I'm just putting out the information. I'm just asking the question. Did the African American, did the Negro American benefit from a standpoint of higher and lower civilization by their subjugation to the European powers here in America? Was Booker T. Washington correct? Was Booker T. Washington wrong? That's the question. So I'm going to be doing a full video on that. I'm going to be showing you guys what Booker T. Washington said, where he said it, the context in which he said it, and I'm going to show you if there are any other instances of that in history. But I just want to talk about it. Thank you guys for listening. I'm about to tap out. You guys have a wonderful day. Hotep, may your name live on forever. May your memory never die. Hotep, I'm out.